Hello everyone, it's Davide here and welcome back to Learning Finance. In today's video guys, we are going to take a look at Bitcoin, which is now at around 18,400 US dollars, and a lot of news and stuff are going out right now. It reminds me back in 2017. We see that very important investors, this one is Cathie Wood directly, says that the Bitcoin could hit $500,000, and this is very interesting. So in this video guys, we are gonna take a look at that. We are gonna see what that means and my opinion and whether today is still a buy Bitcoin, considering the fact that is a almost at all-time high with the previous highs of 2017. So we are going to take a look at that. The only thing I ask you guys as always is to leave me a like if you find this video interesting. An early like, it's very important. You help me to reach more people and grow the channel, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new updates. Let's begin. So first of all guys, a quick introduction, because this is a channel that talks mainly about stocks. This is the first time I talk about Bitcoin, so I don't expect any single one of you to know what Bitcoin is. So in Investopedia, Bitcoin, the definition, Bitcoin is a digital currency created in January 29 following the housing market crash. It follows the idea set out in the white paper of Bitcoin, created by a mysterious identity, which is Satoshi Nakamoto, and still today no one knows who this man is. The identity of the person who created the technology is still a mystery. Bitcoin offers the promise of lower transaction fees than traditional online payment mechanisms. Now, this is, in my opinion, not fully true, because I don't know if you have done transactions with Bitcoin, considering, especially during period of very high volumes of transactions, some of them can be very expensive, and then is operated by a decentralized authority. So this is something typical of Bitcoin. Unlike a government that issues currency, so it's not centralized, they say it's decentralized. There are no physical bitcoins, only balances kept on a public ledger that everyone has transparent access to. Now, I would like to say a word about this thing, decentralized authority. Now, this was the main idea of Bitcoin. However, if you don't know how Bitcoin works, basically what allows Bitcoin to work are the miners. Okay, so there are this big, huge mining pool with a lot of computer power that are able to process the blocks on the blockchain. Okay, these require a lot of computer power and energy. Now, decentralized, is that 100% true? Well, to understand this, theoretically is true. There is no single government that has the control of this. However, here we can see the map. This is from the University of Cambridge. We can see the map of the biggest mining pools by countries. And what we realize is that just visually seems like the Europe is a strong one. However, all those dots are yellow and pretty small. And we see that United States account for a 5.29% share. That's okay. And then we have, guys, look at that. China, 71.70%. The hash rate of Bitcoin, 71% of it, almost 72, is from China. So when we say decentralized, well, probably we should pay a little bit more attention. And having the control of this amount of the mining pool equals to have the control of the entire system of Bitcoin itself. Anyway, if those things are not properly true, why is Bitcoin important? Well, because it is a fixed number. There are a fixed numbers of Bitcoin outstanding. And this is the main problem. Everyone knows that. Now, this is a very interesting site. I'm gonna leave you the link down in the description. So $1 in 1920 is worth $13 today. So that's crazy. Look at that. The line has been pretty flat until oil crisis, so around the 70s, and since then, boom, it skyrocketed. And obviously, the buying power of $1 over time just crashed. The dollar has lost 92.5% of its value since 1920. So this thing is what really is interesting about Bitcoin, the fixed number of Bitcoin issued. And this is why Cathie Wood says that could hit $500,000. And if you just go down on the article, you see what she says is that some investors see Bitcoin as a digital alternative to gold or an insurance policy against inflation. So this is what really makes Bitcoin interesting, and it is an anti-inflationary asset. Not probably very similar to gold. Gold is physical. With gold you can create rings, you can make a lot of stuff, while Bitcoin is something completely digital. Still, Cathie Wood said that all this situation, because we just saw that, for example, Square joined Bitcoin. By the way, if you want to see my fundamental valuation of Square, I leave you the link down below. And PayPal has moved to Bitcoin, and a lot of older institutions are now becoming interested in Bitcoin, while 6-7 years ago, no one really cared about those things. So they say, well, it's just nothing, and now they are going through it. And this reminds Cathie the early days of institutions moving into real estate and emerging markets, when asset allocation started small and then grew. They started out with just 0.5% allocation, then 1%, and then 5%, or thereabouts seemed to be the right number. So if all institutions were to assign a similar mid-single digit allocation to Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency could rise to somewhere in the 400 to 500,000 range, Wood said. So this is the idea, and then now all these kind of institutions are recognizing Bitcoin as a sort of insurance against the dollar that continues to lose its power after especially the virus, as we saw with the Fed interest rates low. We don't know how and when these interest rates will eventually go up, probably up like before. They will never go up again. And then the balance sheet of the Fed is just huge at the moment. So these can be seen as a sort of a protection, and this is why she is saying these kind of huge numbers. Let's now see overall the markets, the difference in markets compared. So here I just put a graph, and we have the biggest market, which is the bond market. It's around 130 trillion. So these are $1 trillion. Then we have the stock market global. This is global, 95 trillion. And then the real estate, 10 trillion, gold, 9 trillion. And then here, just as a comparison, I put Apple market cap, which is 1.995 trillion, and then Bitcoin, which we are not even able to see it, as the market cap today is 344 billion. So here you can see the size. So can Bitcoin reach $500,000? Well, let's take a look at what that would mean. So today, $18,500, total supply 18.5 million, market cap 344 billion. $500,000 with around a little bit of dilution, but a total supply of 18.6 million bitcoins would mean a market cap of $9.3 trillion. So very similar to gold today. Here I just made 3 different scenarios for 2030. So a long-term view scenario. And now the global population, this is now, is 7.8 billion. The total Bitcoin wallet, 55 million. And then, so we have a 0.71% as a global ratio. You just take the total Bitcoin wallet divided by the total population. The average dollars per value inside a single wallet is 6,254. A lot of these wallets, they have, I don't know, below $100. But then you have what are called the whales. So people that they have hundreds of millions in Bitcoin inside their wallets. So on average, here is what we get. The market cap 344, the price 18,500. Now, the global population is forecasted to growth at around 8.5 billion by 2030. I said, well, let's say that 1.50% of the population will become interested in this new kind of asset. And let's say that because of institutions are now joining this kind of market, the average dollar per value in a single wallet will go up to $8,000. That's a growth of 27.91 in 10 years, so that's very feasible. The market cap will be, at this point, with this assumption, $1 trillion for Bitcoin, divided by the fixed number of Bitcoin. That will be the price, $15,135 per every single Bitcoin. Now we have the scenario B, which is a little bit more, in which I considered an average per wallet in dollars of $12,000, so more. And that will give a market cap for Bitcoin of around 1.5 trillion, and that will be the price there, 82,700. And then C, this is a more optimistic scenario, when we see that I said that 4% of the global population will become somewhat interested in this new kind of digital asset. And then the average dollar per wallet, $14,000. So more institutions, hedge funds, and things like that, similar to what Cathie Wood said. That will give us a Bitcoin market cap of 4.76 trillion, and divided by the fixed number of Bitcoin, around $257,000 for every single Bitcoin in just 10 years. So that, as you can see, is very interesting in terms of investment. However, always remember the risks. Okay, because I see a lot of hype guys out there, and as I told you at the beginning, this reminds me a lot of 2017, when we were seeing people like McAfee saying otherwise he would hit his penis. So that's what he said, and obviously he was wrong. Now, I don't know, probably he didn't kept the promise, okay, but anyway, what I mean by hype, guys, is that when we have these kind of huge pumps, there are always news and things like Bitcoin to 10 million by tomorrow, okay? But this is not properly true. We have to have a decent idea of the risks involved. And one of this is that Bitcoin is very cyclical. It's probably one of the most cyclical things I have ever seen. Here we go back to 2013, November, boom, the huge pump, 10x in just 1 month. And then since the high reached in November 2013, Bitcoin has literally dropped once again, has lost 90% of its value. And since those highs, Bitcoin has been able to pass them here, which is February 2017. Okay, so a lot of time since then. And then, boom, we saw what we saw. Probably if you remember this is 2017, and that's what we have seen. Bitcoin that touched around $20,000 by December 2017. So you see that the time is very similar. December, November, it's a very great month for Bitcoin. And then, boom, it dropped again at $3,000. Now we are at November 2020, 3 years later, and we still have to surpass those highs. Probably it will do it, we don't know. However, remember, it's very cyclical. And if you have been investing in the stock market since December 2017, you have probably made more money than in Bitcoin, okay? Because it's not that it goes up forever. And I remember back here, then it was the hype moment. Everyone was crazy about Bitcoin. Everyone was saying Bitcoin will hit 2 million by 2018, by 2019, and that never happened. So here we are another time in the hype moment, and this can go up. We don't know. We can go above the previous highs finally after 3 years. But then at some point, we know what Bitcoin does, right? It pulls back, and these kind of cycles last for a lot of time. So even though, yes, in the very long term, it can go to these kind of prices that Cathie Wood is saying. However, guys, remember, it's not an elevator, okay? And investing in something, if you really like the technology and the idea behind it, so a protection against inflation, against the devaluation of the dollars and other currencies, that's very fine. But remember the long-term view, okay? Just don't do like the hype guys do, to go on debt and to put too much on something that then goes down and stay down for 3 years, because well, you will go bankrupt. Okay, there are a lot of people were buying Bitcoin on leverage and on debt here. Well, guess where these people are today? Because obviously you have to pay back the debt, and you lost a lot of money out of there. So long term is the key. If you really like the idea, and if you believe that it's something interesting, uh, is another asset that one day can become seen as gold, considering also the fact that the population is growing, and then more youngsters are populating the world. So old people, they were probably buying more gold, but younger people are now more digital. So this kind of asset can really become very popular over the next 10 years. But I just want to say, remember the risks. And this is something which is not 100% regulated as of now. So this is another risk. And another thing that you have to remember is that in the cryptocurrency world is full of scammer, okay? Scam everywhere. If you just go to see the comments on every single YouTube channel, you see the guy said, oh yeah, but call this guy on this number and I will promise you. So all of this is just pure BS. If you just want to invest in this, go to very reputable exchanges, like for example Coinbase with Coinbase Pro, or Binance, or if you are in the US and you can use it, you have the Cash App with Square, and now also PayPal is allowing to buy Bitcoin. So these things, use just those things. Don't use the leverage. Don't let yourself get mad about the hype, because this is what Bitcoin does all the time, and then it pulls back eventually. And now it can go up to $50,000, but then it will pull back, as always done like that. If you go mad with the hype, if you don't do things properly, you will get hurt. Okay, you will get hurt very bad. So always pay attention to this. I received a very interesting comment from a guy a couple of days ago asking me, what is the fair price of Bitcoin? We don't have a fair price of Bitcoin. There is nothing wrong and there is nothing right. This is a digital asset. It's not business that makes money. This is something that exists and it's fixed. So it's interesting because of that. But the price is just determined on the number of people who buy these things and the number of people who sell. It's just a game of supply and demand. People who buy, people who sell. It's not something that you can calculate the fundamentals. The only thing you can do is try to do these kind of things. So try to say, well, more people will become interested and then that will be the price. But once again, it's just a pure imagination. There is nothing real behind it. It's just an asset, a digital asset, which offers a protections against the loss of power of the currency. So I hope you find this video interesting, guys. Leave me a like and leave me a comment below. Tell me, do you own Bitcoin? Are you planning to buy some? And what is your view on the future price of it? Subscribe to the channel, and as always, guys, have a wonderful day.